Is there more behind this market dip than what they're leading on to? Let's investigate. What's up, everyone? It is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And tonight we have a very special market update. I wanted to talk about a few things, go over some very basic points that might help to explain what is currently going on in the market. I'm going to check briefly on my smartphone what the price of BTC is at the moment, because we have been in the midst of a little bit of a dip, but now we seem to be popping up a little bit. We're at 48,480 at the time that I'm shooting this video. And it looks to me like on the 4-hour chart, we might be starting to head back up towards the 50 EMA line, which could bring us back to a price of 50,000 USD. But is it possible for BTC to take another dive once we hit that EMA? Well, it's possible. Now, before we get into the details of this video, I need to tell you that two things. Number one, I'm not a financial advisor. And number two, I'm not a prognosticator. In other words, I'm not on YouTube trying to build clout for predicting things, so I can come back and say, I told everybody back when that BTC was going to hit $7.50, and by dang it did. You have a lot of people out there that are trying to gain clout by making predictions. I'm just here because I share with my friends and family and try to teach basic information. I don't have a real agenda beyond that. And this definitely is not something that makes me any kind of decent income. In fact, it costs more to produce this show than what I receive even in the monetization income from YouTube. So I wanted to make that clear so you don't mistake this for a prediction video. But as the title and the thumbnail said, this is a warning. And it doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but just be aware. If I can help people to be more cautious and save one person from getting to the point where they jump into my group and say, well, I just lost my couch and my toilet and I had to sell off my canned green beans in the pantry because I lost everything on the market. What do I do now? And believe me, people come to me and say those types of things. If I can preempt someone from doing something stupid, like investing money that they cannot afford to lose into cryptocurrency, well, I've done my job. So the purpose of this update is to let you know that there is danger in the market and that these are some of the things that you need to consider before you sink your inheritance, your savings, your kids' college income, your rent money, or your mortgage into cryptocurrency. All right, I've made a few pictures. This is something new that I'll be doing to help me stay organized while I present the information to you. Warning. So there is a warning out right now because of some things that are occurring within the market as it relates to the number one coin out there in the market that backs everything. It's the connector to everything, and the reason why the market is as robust as it is. And let me pull up this little website here. This comes from the Crypto Bubbles website. And this is kind of a neat little website. And what this is showing is a bubble for each coin. Like here's USDT, it has the price. And then it has all of the information if you click on each bubble. And then what we're looking at here, the size of this is based on the volume for 24 hours. And so we can see, looking at Bitcoin volume compared to USDT volume, look how big USDT is, Tether, as compared to Bitcoin. Now this is the big dog here, but we see that the volume on Tether is dwarfing the volume of even big boy BTC. So when I move the BTC bubble, you see how it just knocks all the other poor little bubbles around. But when I drag the USDT bubble, wow, that's the juggernaut. This is the Death Star right here. And it can just knock everything else around here on the bubbles. That's kind of neat. If you want to play around on this website, it's kind of fun. Sometimes I just veg out and play on the bubble website. And you could look at different versions of how they display data. You could look at volume and price, or you can also switch this and look at performance. You can change the volume time, or you can even go by one whole year's worth, a month, a week, a day, or an hour. And then here we have the content of the bubble can be price, rank, dominance, or even market cap. Now for market capitalization, Tether's still the biggest one there. All right, well, let's get rid of that and move right along to the warning. Here's the thing, guys. So with this Tether, let's just pull that up here. Here we have Tether. Tether is the go-between that makes the cryptocurrency market very liquid. It used to be that you would have to upload money from your bank to a centralized exchange, which would take some time for the transaction to clear. And then when you would sell Bitcoin, you would have to wait for that to clear and wait for the time to get that transaction to drop that money back into your bank account. And so that meant it took time to go in between Bitcoin and other projects. Well, Tether came along and it became the go-between where I can get my USD into the exchange and then I can purchase what we call a stable coin that's based on the value of $1 US. That's the whole concept here. And then that stable coin can be used to buy Bitcoin. Now, I do a lot of Coinbase Pro, and they use USDC instead of USDT. That's the Tether coin right there. All right, but both of them are stable coins. So the concept is that I can buy the Tether or the USDC and then buy Ethereum, Bitcoin, or whatever else. When I'm on KuCoin, I'll use Tether. And then I will purchase the coin that I am looking to get. And when I sell it, instead of cashing out and waiting for the USDT and getting a taxable event that I pay income tax to the IRS for, it will pay out in terms of Tether or USDT, which I can then flip and buy another project. So that's what causes us to be able to move in and out of these coins and makes it much more liquid if we have a ton of Tether there, that people on either side looking to get in and out of Bitcoin through the intermediary, the stable coin, it speeds everything up. And that's why the market is as big and has as much volume that it does right now, because we have these stable coins. So as I said, the concept is that one Tether coin represents $1. One USDC represents $1. When I buy USDC on Coinbase Pro, a new USDC coin is minted, and then I purchase my crypto. Now, when I sell it and get rid of it and cash it out for $1, one USDC coin is burned. Poof, it goes away. So one USDC is supposed to be backed by a US dollar. That's how I can go back and forth in between the two. Now, they say that Tether is the same, but as we all know right now, Tether is long past the days of being one-to-one to the US dollar. So how do they get away with only having, say, 20, 30% of dollar bills per Tether coin? How do they do that? Well, since Tether is as big as it is, and since it would tie up so much money that there may not be enough liquidity in banks to back up the Tether, they kind of bent the rules and they go to the next step, which is acquiring assets to say, well, we have assets here to back up the Tether coins, and we can sell those assets if we need to liquidate Tether. So what are those assets? Well, those assets are called commercial paper. And so it is defined as unconditional written orders or promises to pay money. In other words, we might get a written piece of paper that gives title to a piece of real estate or a company. You get where I'm going here? So what if we had a written piece of paper that gave title to a piece of a company? Well, here's a written piece of paper. This is commercial paper. And this is what a stock certificate looks like. So let's say Tether has a lot of stock in companies. Or let's say Tether has real estate holdings. Or let's say Tether invests into a company that has massive real estate holdings. Well, that's how they fill up the gap of the 70% that they don't have in cash to back up each Tether stablecoin. Now, here's where the warning comes in. Months ago, I talked to you about the possibility of a black swan event that since then has not happened. And I was saying last early October or late September that we had the possibility of a black swan event, which is a cataclysmic world event like what we had during the market crash of, 2020? Yeah, it was 2020, a year and a half ago. And I had talked about the 4 things that I thought that could contribute to a possible black swan event in October, which didn't happen. Those things were the default of a company called Evergrande. I'm going to tie all this in a minute. The possibility of the new variant of COVID coming out and causing a new pandemic. The possibility of a banking crisis where there was talk that during the end or during the third quarter that banks were not going to be able to pay their 24-hour loans that they get to meet the book balancing requirements of the feds. Okay. And that never happened. We did not have a banking crisis. And then last but not least, what was the other thing? A stock market crash. So we didn't get any of those things, actually. But now we see Bitcoin taking a dip and we had a big correction. And Evergrande disappeared from the news. Everyone called it FUD. They said, well, they'll be fine. The Chinese government isn't going to let Evergrande collapse. Now, if you're wondering who Evergrande is, this is the largest property development, real estate developer contractor in China. They make these big skyscraper apartment buildings. They buy up properties. And a lot of people in China who don't have a free market like we do, in order to invest for retirement, they've invested into Evergrande, into all of the real estate holdings that they have and these apartments. So Evergrande was getting tight in their books and they needed money. And what they would do, they would start selling shares of a new development that hasn't been started in order to close the books and pay for all of the debts of an existing project. So they were borrowing money for future projects to get through a current project. Well, then once they got to that next project, all the money was spent to finish the first one. So then they've got all the money and, well, they took all of the investments from people's hands for that second project. Now they need to sell shares for new projects to pay for the current one since they spent that money closing the one before that. Well, this is a pyramid scheme in a sense. And this has spiraled out of control to the point where Evergrande has not been able to pay its debt obligations. And they got to the point where in October, they had a drop dead date where they at least had to pay the interest on their loan to all the banks that had the debts from their projects. And I think they did pay that interest only payment, but not the principal. Well, since then, I believe they have defaulted or they're on the brink of default. I think it's a foregone conclusion now. Well, what's this got to do with everything else, you might ask? That's your next question. Well, here's the thing. You remember when we were talking about Tether and the one-to-one backing of the US dollar that really isn't there, and that a lot of the backing comes from commercial paper? And I might have said it backwards. I think 30%, I can't remember if it's 30 or 70, but a significant percent comes from this commercial paper. right here? Well, guess what? A lot of the commercial paper that Tether has bought into comes from Evergrande. Now, the amount of money that has been invested into Evergrande comes to the tune of, I believe, $30 billion. If Evergrande defaults and files for bankruptcy, Tether doesn't have one-to-one backing. They're $30 billion short. How do they make up that difference? That is the $5 question right there. What's going to happen when the New York Attorney General, which is very aggressive and has been the chief regulator on the tails of Tether, forcing them to show their books and prove that they have the one-to-one backing, including the commercial paper? What's going to happen when they say, show us your plan of covering for the defaulted paper that resulted from Evergrande? How are they going to do that? What is the possibility of this affecting the Bitcoin price? Well, it's a great possibility. Now, there's talk out there. If you look at the recent Chico Crypto video, he said that we could have a run-up in Bitcoin price and then a cataclysmic drop where Tether will probably make it, but there might be some market manipulation that happens in order for them to create the income to close the gap in their books. So the warning is be careful and understand that the market is manipulated. It is very volatile. It can shoot up out the roof in a blink of an eye, and it can also crash down in the blink of an eye. I don't think we're going to have a cataclysmic drop, but I don't discount the possibility. I think we are going to have a run up pretty soon. I think we will get a market cycle peak, but we don't know what the next correction is going to bring. And anything is on the table. It could be 30K or below. There's talk of 14K. That is of least probability, but it's possible when you have big things like this looming on the horizon that could wreck the financial situation of the token that has the biggest role in the liquidity of the entire crypto market. That's all I want to, that is the main point I want to bring across, is that it is possible for things to come tumbling down before they get built back up. Overall, we're going to be fine. And for those who hold for the long term, this will probably blow over. I do think we will see one more correction before the run up. And then after that, yeah, we're going to have a bear market. The depth of that bear market will probably be contingent upon how this situation unfurls, how this rolls out. So while this has been swept under the rug many times, just take note that we might see it all come full circle, maybe this winter or this spring. I don't know how long it will take, but just file that in the back of your mind and be careful. Be careful. Hopefully this has given you a little bit more information or understanding than what you had before. And if you are an expert at this kind of stuff and you want to add some detail, please post it in the comments. I am not the expert at this. I am not a CPA. I'm not an expert at the stock market or investments of this type. I'm just sharing what I am learning because I've been in the crypto market and investing in general since 1999. And I've watched the market go through the cycles up and down and up and down. And I've watched the cataclysmic world events, how often they happen, and the effect that they have on the market. So please post your comments below. And again, I'm not the expert. I'm just sharing what I know. And if you know more than I do, hey, expound upon that and teach us all. Share your knowledge. This is a group effort, and I'd love to have you help us to understand the possibilities of what can happen. That's all I got for now. This is Carlton, and I am out.